They accidentally forgot to invite me to my sister's baby shower. I found out from Instagram, my decorations, my cake, even the custom banner I paid $6,100 for with my name ripped off the backdrop. When I asked, Mom said, "It wasn't about you. Her first girl is a big deal." I just said, "Got it." Then froze the joint credit card, pulled my name off the lease, and canceled every autopay in my name. The next morning my sister was crying in the driveway. I, 32M, never thought my own family would steal from me and then act like I was the problem. But here we are. It started 3 months ago when my sister announced she was having her third kid, first girl after 2 boys. The whole family went crazy. Mom immediately started planning this massive baby shower, talking about how special it was going to be. My sister kept going on about wanting everything perfect, how this was her dream moment. I offered to help with the planning since I run my own event design business. Big mistake. Mom asked if I could handle the decorations and custom work. I spent weeks designing everything: floral arrangements, balloon arches, a custom backdrop with hand-lettered signage. The centerpiece was this gorgeous banner system I had professionally made with my sister's name and baby's name in rose gold foil. Cost me $6,100 total, but I wanted it perfect for family. I told Mom I'd cover it as my gift since this was such a big deal to everyone. She seemed thrilled and kept texting me updates about guest lists and planning details. My sister would call asking about color schemes and design elements. Everything seemed normal. The shower was scheduled for last Saturday. Friday night, I loaded everything into my truck, ready to set up early Saturday morning. Saturday comes, and I'm driving over to Mom's house where the party was supposed to be. But as I'm pulling up, I see cars everywhere and hear music. The party was already happening. I sat in my truck for a full minute, staring at the scene through the window. There were my decorations, every single piece I designed and paid for. My custom backdrop hanging perfectly across the patio. My balloon arrangements framing the entrance. Even my $6,100 banner system strung up beautifully across the garden. But something was wrong with the banner. I got out and walked closer. They had literally torn my business name off the bottom corner where I always put my signature tag. You could see the jagged edges where they'd ripped the vinyl lettering off. But that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was seeing 30 people I knew, aunts, cousins, family friends, all celebrating inside while I stood outside like a stranger. I walked up to the door and Mom answered. Her face went completely white when she saw me. She started stammering about how it was a misunderstanding, how she thought I knew the time had changed. But I could see right past her to where my sister was sitting in the center of everything, opening gifts, surrounded by all my decorations. I asked Mom directly why I wasn't invited to something I had literally designed and paid for. She got defensive immediately, telling me I was being dramatic and that this wasn't about me. She said my sister's first girl was a big deal and they wanted to keep it small and intimate. Small and intimate, with 30 people, using thousands of dollars worth of my work. I looked around at everyone staring at us. I could see my sister watching from her chair, not saying a word to defend me or invite me in. I just said got it, turned around, and left. But I wasn't done. I drove straight home and got on my laptop. First thing I did was freeze the joint credit card my sister and I shared for family expenses. She'd been using it for baby stuff, groceries, pretty much everything since she'd been on unpaid leave. Next, I called the landlord of the duplex my sister rents. Mom had put my name on the lease as a co-signer and backup contact when my sister's credit wasn't good enough. I gave 30 days notice to remove my name from the lease effective immediately. Then came the fun part. I went through every autopay bill that was linked to my accounts. My sister's phone bill, canceled. Her car insurance that I'd added to my multi-car policy for the discount, removed. The family Spotify and Netflix accounts I paid for, deleted her profiles. Even the gym membership I'd gotten her for Christmas last year, terminated. The internet at Mom's house that I'd been paying for since Dad passed, canceled. The lawn service I'd set up for Mom, done. The grocery delivery subscription I'd been covering, gone. I was methodical about it. Every single recurring payment that had my name or card on it got canceled that night. Sunday morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls. I was drinking my coffee when I heard a car door slam outside. I looked through the window and saw my sister standing in my driveway, still in her pajamas, crying. She came to the door and started pounding on it, yelling about how I'd ruined everything. She said her phone was shut off and she couldn't call an Uber to get to work. Her car insurance had lapsed overnight, and she couldn't drive. She was completely hysterical. I opened the door, and she immediately started screaming at me about how I was being petty and vindictive. She said I was punishing her for something Mom did. I asked her if she knew I wasn't invited. She went quiet. I asked her again. Did she know her own brother wasn't invited to the party he designed and paid for? She finally admitted that yes, she knew. She said Mom thought it would be easier if I just dropped everything off and left. She said they didn't want any drama or tension at the party. Drama or tension from the person who spent $6,100 of his own money to make her day perfect. I told her she was right. She was being punished for something Mom did. But she was also being punished for going along with it. For sitting there opening gifts surrounded by my work while I stood outside like a stranger. She tried to backtrack, saying she wanted to invite me, but Mom said it was already planned. But I wasn't buying it. She'd had weeks to mention it to me. She'd had my business name ripped off my own banner rather than just asking me to make one without it. The phone calls kept coming all morning. Mom, various aunts, even my sister's husband trying to convince me I was overreacting. Mom left a voicemail saying I was tearing the family apart over one misunderstanding. She said everyone was upset and that I needed to fix this. My uncle called saying I was being childish and that family should stick together. Easy words from someone who was at the party I paid for. But the call that really got to me was from my cousin. She said she'd been at the party and felt weird about it the whole time. She said everyone kept commenting on how beautiful everything looked and asking who did the decorations. Mom kept taking credit, saying she'd put it all together herself. My own mother was taking credit for my work. Update 1. Monday morning brought more chaos. My sister's husband showed up at my office, demanding I restore everything immediately. He said they couldn't afford to replace all the services I'd canceled and that I was putting their family at risk. I told him that was no longer my problem. I reminded him that they'd made it very clear this wasn't about me, so I was removing myself from the equation entirely. He tried to argue that the autopays were for essential services. I pointed out that phone bills, car insurance, and streaming services weren't my responsibility for a grown woman with her own family. He got angry and said I was being vindictive toward an innocent baby. That crossed a line. I told him the baby was innocent, but the parents sure weren't. I said if they'd wanted my continued financial support, maybe they shouldn't have stolen from me and then excluded me from my own sister's life. Later that day, Mom showed up. She'd been crying and looked exhausted. She tried a different approach, guilt and emotional manipulation. She talked about how Dad would be disappointed in me for abandoning family, how I was supposed to be the responsible one who kept everyone together, how my sister was struggling and needed support. I asked her if Dad would have been disappointed in a daughter who stole from her son and then lied about it, if he'd have been proud of a mother who took credit for her child's work. She couldn't answer that. Then she tried to minimize what happened. She said it wasn't stealing since it was a gift anyway. She said I was being dramatic about not being invited since I wouldn't have enjoyed a baby shower anyway. That's when I lost it. I told her she was right. I wouldn't have enjoyed watching my own family celebrate with decorations I'd paid for while pretending I didn't exist. I told her she was right that it was a gift, which made their behavior even worse. I said the money wasn't the issue. The exclusion wasn't even the real issue. The issue was that they'd all conspired to use me and then discard me, and when I called them on it, suddenly I was the villain. Mom started crying and said she just wanted her family back together. I told her she should have thought about that before she decided I wasn't family enough to invite to my own sister's baby shower. Update 2. The rest of the week was a nightmare of family drama. Word had gotten out about what happened, and everyone had opinions. Some cousins and aunts took my side, saying what Mom and my sister did was inexcusable. A few even admitted they'd felt uncomfortable at the party knowing I wasn't there. But others thought I'd gone too far with canceling everything. They said I was being vindictive and hurting an innocent family over hurt feelings. Hurt feelings. Like that's all this was. My sister tried a new approach Wednesday. She came over with the kids, her 2 boys, ages 6 and 4. She was clearly hoping seeing my nephews would guilt me into backing down. The boys were excited to see me and kept asking why Uncle wasn't at Mommy's party. My sister looked mortified as I explained that sometimes adults make bad choices and hurt people they care about. She tried to have a rational conversation then. She apologized for not standing up to Mom and admitted she should have insisted I be invited. She said she was scared and overwhelmed and just went along with what Mom planned. For a moment, I almost believed her. Almost felt sorry for her. Then she asked if I would consider restoring just the essential services, the phone and car insurance, until she could figure out alternatives. She said it wasn't about her anymore, but about the kids' safety. I asked her why she thought her kids' safety was my responsibility when she'd made it clear I wasn't part of their family celebrations. She got defensive again, saying I was twisting things. She said family is supposed to help each other unconditionally. Unconditionally, after what they'd done. I told her she was absolutely right about family helping unconditionally. I'd proven that when I spent $6,100 of my own money to make her day special. When I'd been covering her bills for months while she was on unpaid leave. When I'd co-signed her lease and added her to my insurance policies. I said the only person who hadn't been helping unconditionally was her. She left crying, with the boys asking why mommy was sad and why uncle was being mean. That night I got a text from her husband. Just 2 words, "You won." But I didn't feel like I'd won anything. Update 3. By Friday, the extended family pressure was intense. My grandmother called, the nuclear option. She's 87, and everyone listens to her. Grandma didn't take sides exactly, but she made it clear she thought I should be the bigger person and fix things. She said family fights like this had torn apart her generation, and she didn't want to see it happen again. I respected her too much to argue, but I also couldn't just cave because she asked. Saturday morning, exactly 1 week after the party, I woke up to find my sister sitting on my front steps. She'd been there for hours, just waiting. She looked terrible, exhausted, stressed, defeated. She said she'd been thinking all week about what I'd said about family helping unconditionally. She said I was right. I'd been the one carrying everyone, and they'd repaid me by cutting me out when it mattered. She apologized. Really apologized. Not just sorry I got caught apologizing. She said she'd been jealous of how successful my business had become and how mom always bragged about me to other people. She said when mom suggested keeping the shower small and intimate, she'd seen it as a chance to have something that was just hers without me getting credit. That hurt more than anything else they'd done. My own sister was jealous of me helping her. She said she'd talked to her husband about getting their own phone plan and car insurance. She was going to talk to the landlord about removing my name from the lease and finding a co-signer. She didn't want to be dependent on me anymore because it was clearly poisoning our relationship. I told her that wasn't necessary. The dependencies weren't the problem, the disrespect was. She asked what it would take for me to forgive her. I said I didn't know yet, but it would start with her taking responsibility with mom instead of letting me be the villain. Monday, she called a family meeting. Everyone who'd been at the party plus me and a few other relatives. My sister stood up in front of everyone and explained what had really happened. How she'd known I wasn't invited. How they'd used my decorations and ripped my business name off my banner. How mom had taken credit for my work. She apologized publicly and said I'd had every right to be angry and to protect myself financially. Mom tried to interrupt and minimize things again, but my sister shut her down. She said mom owed me an apology and needed to take responsibility for orchestrating the whole thing. The room was dead silent. You could feel how uncomfortable everyone was. Mom finally, reluctantly, apologized. But it was one of those non-apology apologies where she said she was sorry I felt hurt by her actions. I said that wasn't good enough. I said I needed her to acknowledge that what she did was wrong, not just that my feelings were hurt by it. It took another 10 minutes of family pressure, but she finally admitted that excluding me was wrong and taking credit for my work was wrong. It felt hollow, but it was something. Final update. It's been 3 weeks since the infamous baby shower. Things are slowly getting back to normal, but not the same normal as before. I restored my sister's phone service and car insurance, but everything else she's handling on her own now. She got her own Netflix account, pays for her own gym membership, arranged her own internet service. The lease situation was trickier, but her husband's credit had improved enough that they could refinance with just his name. I'm officially off the hook there. My sister had her baby last week, a beautiful, healthy girl. I was invited to the hospital and got to hold my niece within hours of her birth. My sister made sure I knew I was welcome and wanted there. I bought a gift, but this time I kept the receipt and gave it directly to her instead of coordinating with mom. The family dynamics have shifted permanently. People are more careful around me now, which is both good and bad. Good because they're not taking my generosity for granted anymore. Bad because some relationships feel forced and awkward. Mom and I are speaking again, but there's a distance that wasn't there before. She's been making an effort to include me in things and to give me credit when I help, but it feels performative. Like she's checking boxes rather than genuinely appreciating me. My sister and I are rebuilding slowly. She's been more independent and more considerate of my time and money. She actually asks before assuming I'll help with things, which is a massive improvement. But the trust is damaged. When she texts asking for help with something, part of me wonders if she's just using me again. When Mom praises something I've done, I question whether she means it or if she's just trying to keep me from pulling back again. The cousins and extended family who supported me have become closer allies. A few of them have started using my event planning services for their own celebrations, which has been good for business. The ones who thought I overreacted keep their distance now, which is fine by me. I learned who my real family is during this mess. I still think about that Saturday morning sometimes. Standing outside Mom's house, looking at thousands of dollars worth of my own work being enjoyed by people who couldn't be bothered to invite me. The feeling of being completely disposable to the people who were supposed to love me most. It changed something fundamental in how I see my family relationships. I love them, but I don't trust them the way I used to. I help when I want to help, not because I feel obligated. I say no when I need to say no. Some people say I went too far by canceling everything at once. Maybe I did, but it was the only thing that made them understand how much they'd been taking from me and how little they'd been giving back. My sister's baby is gorgeous, by the way, and when she has her first birthday party next year, I've already been asked to handle the decorations. This time, I'm keeping my business name on everything and sending an invoice. Family is important, but self-respect is more important. And sometimes the only way to save both is to be willing to lose everything. The joint credit card is still frozen, though. Some lessons are worth remembering.